Well, hello, folks out there in video land. And I'd like to share something with you this evening. I know it's been a while since I posted, but I actually attended a Passover meal tonight, and I'd like to share some music with you. And there, I'm setting the tone with my story. I'd like to share an experience with you folks today with my husband, my mother, and my daughter and her newly husband. And they celebrate Passover, and her husband is of Jewish descent, and I think she's more or less converting. But I just like to share the Passover meal. They call Seder. And as you know, my family, we're very multicultural, and we have many cultures in our family. We have Latino, we have Cherokee Indian, Blackfoot. Let's see, what else? Oh, gosh, I'm just trying to think the many cultures that we have. French Canadian. Sheesh, what else? You name it, it's there. Um, but anyway, so I'd like to express the experience that we had tonight, which was quite interesting, and I'll try and not take too long, but it all started, my daughter invited us over for the Seder meal, and we went last year, and I think maybe the year before. This year was kind of interesting. It just started where, they had the table all set up and nicely, and, matching plates, and then you sit down, and there's what you call the Seder plate. And if I can recall, there was, let's see, parsley, some type of lamb bone, a piece of lettuce, and let's see what else. Oh gosh, it was, I think, 5 things. They all represented different things. Like one thing represented the bitterness of slavery, and another thing represented the hardships. Each item represented something that was meaningful to the Jewish religion. So he went and actually said prayers during each thing that we did. There was different prayers. There were different prayers, and we had cups of grape juice. They had wine, and there was, I guess, 4 different times when you fill the cup. Well, I don't drink, so myself, my husband, and my mother, we each had a cup of grape, 100% grape juice, and my daughter and her newlywed husband, they had the wine. So he would say different prayers, of course, in Hebrew, and then we all had little books to read along with them, and they would be in the English translation. So we'd read along with him, and he speaks Hebrew very good. So he would read the prayers, and one thing I thought was interesting was that at one point he would say something, and we dip our finger in the cup and then put it on the plate, and I think that represented the tears that were shedded for the slavery, of the Israelites. So we'd have to dip our finger in the cup of grape juice or wine, and then we tap our plate. That was one thing. And then we ate the flatbread, which is called matzah bread, and he actually had us put some kind of, oh my gosh, it was horseradish. I'm not a fan of horseradish, so I put like a little dab on there, and my so-called mother was making fun of me. But anyway, I think I remember from last year it was a little bit on the strange tasting side. So you put a little piece of that horseradish on the matzah bread, and that symbolized, I think, something very significant. And let's see, what else did we do? So there were different prayers. There were different. Oh, then we ate the parsley, and we dipped the parsley in the salty water, and that had a meaning, I think, of again, I think the hardship of the slavery or something like that. The hardship of the slavery of the Israelites. And so, and each prayer had a different meaning about it. And one thing I thought that was interesting was that, of course, then we had our meal, which was, it began with matzo ball soup, which I like matzo ball soup. It's very interesting. It has a, he actually made it from scratch. They're matzo balls, and you put it in, in like a chicken broth, and so you start out with matzo ball soup. That was really good. And then he presented us with a great meal of chicken and rice pilaf, and let's see, chicken rice pilaf, and let's see, there was a third thing: chicken rice pilaf, and I can't think of the third thing what it was. Oh, and a zucchini mix, sauteed zucchini, which is very good. So we had our meal, and of course, I did mention that slavery was something that Black people went through, of course. And if it wasn't for Rosa Parks, he was actually, one of the prayers talked about not being complacent, and and standing up for freedom. I said, well, if it wasn't for Rosa Parks, she was more or less not being complacent, and sat down the bus. And so if it wasn't for her, then where would we be now? And if it wasn't for Martin Luther King going to jail about 20 times, where would we be? So I was kind of like seeing the different things that were similar with slavery. And of course, the Seminole Indians helped the black slaves. That was something that was very unique. So we were just talking about different stories of slavery and how people made it through those days. But I thought it was very interesting that we shared our ideas. Like I talked about black folks in slavery, and he was sharing his ideas about the slavery of the Israelites. And then I mentioned that Moses, who Jewish people really study, he actually lived with the Egyptians, the pharaohs, right? Because he was found in the river. Moses was found in the river in a basket, but he also lived with the Israelites. And then my son-in-law added, well, yes, and then he saw, how the pharaohs were treating people, and which he didn't like, and I think he witnessed something that wasn't so great. So then that's why he was leading the Israelite people. So, and I said, well, I don't think it was all Egyptian people. He said, well, no. I said, well, I think it was the Egyptian government or the Pharaoh government that was not so great. And he said, well, yeah, that was true. So I thought we had a really nice time tonight. The food was excellent, and the prayers are very interesting. And I actually grew around Jewish people as a child. Um, we had a very good friend, Trudy, and her family, who I've known ever since I was like, I think before I was born. And she's always been in our life. And we went to her son's bar mitzvah. But it's very good to know about different cultures and experience different cultures. So we really enjoyed our time. And, just for the record, I've always taken my kids to powwows, Native American powwows, and let's see, just different things. Salsa dances. I went as a kid, salsa dances, and I took them to African dance classes, which they really enjoyed. So, uh, it's very good to have know about different cultures. We spent a lot of time in San Francisco Chinatown. I was born around there in San Francisco Chinatown, so we just have a lot of culture in our family. So I have yet to travel to Europe. Someday we will, and that should be some trip. So I lead you folks with some more spiritual Jewish music, and I'm thankful to my daughter and her husband, and may all the young people in our family rise to success and happiness. All the youth, the young people. Peace.